Welcome back to my channel. Today we'll be talking again about Stockholm, the wonderful capital of Sweden. As I told you in my previous videos, I've spent more than 2 months in Sweden, in Stockholm and around it. Visited some of the top attractions there. So in today's video we're going to talk about what are the best things to do in Stockholm. I want to spark some interest and propose some of the places and activities to include on your Stockholm itinerary that I've personally tried and I recommend. And if you're planning your visits to the Swedish capital for the first time, I think these places will be of interest to you. First of all, I want to mention that there's a Stockholm Museum Pass, because most of the top things to do in Stockholm are museums and or have an entrance fee. And Sweden isn't a cheap place. You should know that by now. So if you're interested in the local culture, you might be considering buying the Stockholm City Pass, which grants entrance to many of these places that I'm gonna mention in this video. The only catch is that you have to plan your visit in a short time frame. So the pass is valid for like 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5 days, and the price increases as you get it for more days. Basically, the best way to save money is to visit a lot of places in a short time. I didn't get this pass because I stayed for 2 months, as I mentioned, and I wanted to visit everything at my own pace. I was also working, so that did not work for me. However, I realized this isn't a reality for a lot of travelers, so if you're only staying in Stockholm for a short while, then you should get a pass to save money. Otherwise, you should just visit everything else at your own pace. And if you're in Sweden for a longer time, then I recommend checking the Cultural Heritage Card, which offers 50% discount at over 300 cultural sites in Sweden. This card can be bought in a physical format from the central metro station in Stockholm and the tourist information in Djurgården, the museum island in Stockholm. So you should check that out. Now, how to get around Stockholm. Stockholm is a big city and you can either drive there or use public transport. So if you arrived in Stockholm by plane, then there's no need to rent a car because you're going to spend all your time in Stockholm and it's really easy to get around. The public transport is very efficient and overall cheaper than any other type of transportation. If you're seeking culture and museums, most of them are located on and around the Djurgården Island in the center of Stockholm. If I'm not pronouncing that correctly, excuse me, that's the best way I can do it. So you don't need to walk around too much from one attraction to another. So to cut down on transportation costs and time, it would be a good idea to group attractions that you want to visit in Stockholm close to each other to visit on the same day, so you don't go around the city from one museum to another when you have a bunch of them close to each other. Now, I recommend getting the SL Day Pass. That's the most efficient way to get around Stockholm with public transport, because this pass grants you access to buses, trams, metros and ferries, which all work very nice in Stockholm. They work great and you can reach almost any destination in and around the city using this public transport. I used it for a month when I stayed right in Stockholm and I loved it. As with everything else in Scandinavia, this pass can be bought and used through a mobile app called SL Journey Planner and Tickets. You can find it on the App Store, and you just install the app on your phone and then you can purchase your tickets on your pass from within the app. Then you can use public transport. You just open the app, scan the QR code that's on the app, and that's it. You just need to make sure that you never run out of battery, because if you do not have a battery, the app is not gonna work and you won't have a ticket. The weird thing about Swedes and public transport is that they never sit next to each other. So if they're free seats, don't sit next to somebody who's already sitting. I already mentioned some of these quirks of the Swedish culture in another video, so go check that out. Now, driving in Stockholm. Stockholm, like many other places in Scandinavia, has road fees for cars driving in the city. The system is designed to limit traffic during rush hour and is called a congestion tax. So you will be charged more if you want to drive during mornings or afternoons when everybody is going to work or gets back home. The toll system is very efficient and it is implemented via road cameras, which read your license plate and automatically charge you depending on the time and the date. During summer, for 1 month in July, the system will not charge you, or at least that was the rule when I was there, but you should check it out, and you need to activate that app before driving into Stockholm. I have an entire blog about it. Now, let's get into the fun part of Stockholm and the places that I recommend you checking out if you're visiting Stockholm for the first time. I really recommend you check out Gröna Lund. I find this to be the most magical place in Stockholm, a place you can visit with your family, including small children. In my other video about Stockholm, I said that this is a lovely amusement park in Sweden, but somebody mentioned in my comments that the Liseberg, an amusement park from Gothenburg, the second largest city in Sweden, is actually better. Well, maybe that's the case. However, in my personal experience is that Gröna Lund was awesome. I went there a bunch of times. I cannot even remember how many times I went there. Truly loved it. However, it's a nice thing to keep in mind that if you're doing a road trip around Sweden, there are other cities that have great amusement parks. I find it quite nice that all these cities in Scandinavia seem to have one amusement park in or around the city, and I guess this the roller coaster thing is a big part of the culture in this part of the world. The Gröna Lund Park offers several packages, and you can get a daily or a season ticket, and you can get just a concert pass, because during the summer when the park is open, it also acts as a concert venue, and there are different artists from all around the world that come here and they make a party here, and it's very, very nice. Do mind that this is not a super huge park, but it is packed with all kinds of attractions and rides, and you will find several of these rides for each age group, so don't worry. There is something for everybody in this park. It's open from May to September. As a personal tip, I find that the best way to visit this park is to get a day pass and to enjoy the rides in the park when there is no concert, because it gets to get extra crowded during those days in the park. So do know that there are also a bunch of restaurants and the snack bars inside, so you won't starve. You have basically everything there, and overall I find it to be a gorgeous amusement park with great aesthetics, amazing views over Stockholm, and it's just mind-blowing. Stockholm National Museum. Now, as I said in the beginning, we're going to talk a bit about museums, but what I like about Stockholm and Scandinavia in general is that most of their attractions are very neatly organized and well curated. And when I'm talking about museums, that's also the case. The National Museum has a beautiful building, the iconic staircase inside's not to be missed, and the permanent exhibition is huge, and you will find here paintings and pieces from the Middle Ages up to the 20th century, and if you have the time, you can spend here at least half a day admiring everything that's in the museum. Next, let's talk about the ABBA Museum. The ABBA Museum is probably one of the main attractions in Stockholm. I have an entire video dedicated to this museum. Fans from all over the world queue daily in front of the ABBA Museum. Die-hard ABBA fans will probably love it, such as myself, but it's on the pricey side of things, and the entire exhibition tends to be a bit of a commercial event. Even so, I loved it, and it offered plenty of enjoyable and interactive corners, and I felt that overall it lived up to the hype. I do recommend it. I think ABBA is the best thing that ever happened to us, so thank you, Sweden, for ABBA. The Vasa Museum. I did not expect the Vasa Museum to be as awesome as it is. I don't know how it looks in the video, but in real person is actually amazing. It's kind of dark inside because they want to showcase the beauty of the Vasa, and that's why the videos I think are not that great, but inside in real life it looks amazing. This entire museum is built around one well-preserved 17th century warship that sank on her maiden voyage in 1628, and once inside you're gonna join the tour in English that's gonna explain everything there is to know about this ship and how they salvaged it completely intact in 1961, so about 300 years later. It's truly amazing, and I really loved it. The museum itself has over 1 million visitors per year, making it the most popular museum in Stockholm. It's a must-see for history buffs, maritime enthusiasts, and basically everybody, so do not miss it. Next we have the Skansen Museum, which is the oldest open-air museum in the world. This is the place to visit if you want to observe Sweden's traditions and rural life across different historical. Throughout the year, the Skansen hosts traditional Swedish celebrations like Midsummer, St. Lucie's Day, and Christmas markets, so that tourists can get a taste of local customs. Next, I'm gonna suggest visiting the Gamla Stan, which isn't a museum, is actually the old center of Stockholm, which is packed with attractions, and of course you cannot miss it. It's free to visit and you can walk around it. Since Stockholm is actually located on an archipelago, this part of the city is in fact a separate island. Just located in the middle of the city, but don't worry, you can easily reach it by metro and then explore it on foot. Some of the main attractions around here are the Royal Palace, the Nobel Prize Museum, a few churches, statues, the famous Stortorget Square, and Stockholm's narrowest street. I love the cobblestone streets, which are basically a staple in all over Europe. And also this is the place where you can get a sandwich with fried herring, which is a thing in Sweden. Next up we have the Natural History Museum. I am a total geek and I love history museums, especially the natural kind of ones. Then the Swedish Natural History Museum is one of my all-time favorite here. I was pleasantly surprised to see a complex museum that encompasses a mix of science, history, and interactive exhibits. Note that all museums in Scandinavia are specifically designed for all age groups, and I love that. They always have something for kids to do there as well. The museum has a permanent exhibition on dinosaurs, the human body, space, and Swedish wildlife, which is absolutely amazing. The museum is perfect, as I said, for families, and you can learn here everything there is to know about the Arctic and deep sea creatures that you find around these places. So if you want to learn about the Swedish nature, this is the place to go, and it's really different from other natural history museums that I visited. Now, one cool place about Sweden and Scandinavia that I didn't really realize up to now is that Stockholm is one of the hot spots for world-famous artists and bands. And that's why each summer Stockholm is the place where you can see concerts that are part of super popular world tours. So if there's a band or an artist on a world tour, then probably they will include Stockholm on their itinerary. And when I was there in Stockholm, it happened a couple of years ago, I went to a Queen concert with Adam Lambert at the Avicii Arena. And this is a popular spot for concerts, and the organization, everything were flawless there. I loved it. I'm also a big Queen fan, and I truly love this place. That's why I'm recommending it to you. Just in case you don't know, during summer a bunch of concerts like really huge ones happen in Stockholm, so go check that out, check their website and see who's coming up during your visit. It might be worth it, and definitely not that expensive if you buy your ticket in advance. Next up, we have the Royal Palace of Stockholm, which is a top attraction in the city, and here you'll find a mix of history, grandeur, and royal tradition. It has over 600 rooms, and it's one of the largest working palaces in Europe today. Serves as the official residence of the Swedish monarch. One of the highlights is the daily changing of the guard ceremony, a tradition that dates back to the 16th century and includes military music and a formal parade. We did a tour of the lavish state apartments, which are still used for royal receptions and ceremonies. And inside you will also find a treasury, which is the home to the Swedish crown jewels, including the royal crowns and ceremonial regalia. Then you also visit the Royal Armory and the Tre Kronor Museum, which offers a glimpse of history of the original medieval castle, which was located on this spot, which burned down in 1697. Now, I really loved how this palace is still an active royal palace, and you really get a glimpse into what their monarchy looks today, and I find that amazing. Next, you should also visit the Riddalholmen Church, which you can get a combo ticket to visit together with the Royal Palace. This is the burial site of the Swedish monarchs from the 17th century to the 1950s. Inside, you'll find the beautifully decorated tombs of rulers like Gustav II, Adolf, and Karl XII. This is one of the best places to learn about the Swedish royal history. The building itself is also really imposing and interesting. It was built in the late 1200s as a medieval monastery, and today Riddalholmen Church is one of the oldest buildings in Stockholm. It's a red brick Gothic architecture, and the intricate iron spire on top of it will definitely get your attention, as this is for sure a striking landmark in the city's skyline. And I'm not done about palaces. Next up, we have the Drottningholm Palace, which is one of the most beautiful and historically rich sites in Sweden. Before I go on about palaces, do note that if you ever want to go on a tour of palaces, then Sweden is the place to do it. They have, I think, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, hundreds. I have a map of some of them that I visited. I will probably make another video about all the palaces that I visited, and there were a bunch more. They're mostly open during summer. If it's not warm outside, they might be closed. So yeah, a lot of palaces, really nice. Let's get back to Drottningholm Palace, which is a UNESCO World Heritage Site and Sweden's best preserved royal residence. And inside you will see the 17th century architecture, which is stunning, of course. Unlike the royal palace that I mentioned before, the one in Stockholm, which is for official ceremonies, this one is where the Swedish royal family actually lives. Some areas, of course, are still private, but you can visit most of the palace. And also the palace grounds are absolutely stunning. The gardens are beautiful. During summer when I visited, it was all mesmerizing. They feature a formal French-style Baroque garden and an English landscape park where you can walk around and admire the fountains, sculptures and everything. Note that Drottningholm is just 40 minutes away from Stockholm by public transport or boat. You can also drive there, and it can make a bit of a scenic getaway from the city. I have a separate video just about this palace, so if you want to get an idea what you're going to see there, just go and check that out. Now I have a bit of a personal suggestion, do note that all this list is just my personal suggestion. I haven't read any of the other bloggers or vloggers' recommendations on Stockholm. I stayed in Lidingö when I stayed in my first month in Stockholm, and this is one of the largest islands near Stockholm, and it's a perfect serene backdrop for a longer stay in Stockholm. I do recommend staying here if you have the chance. This is where I stayed, and I find it an absolute dream. The island is well connected to the main part of Stockholm via public transport, but you can also drive around the Lidingö island and discover its many cute beaches. Especially during summer, it's an absolute dream to, just relax. I believe this is a great spot, and you can enjoy the gorgeous beaches for free around the island. During weekends, it can get a bit busy on the beaches because all the folks from the city come here, but even so, it's still manageable. It cannot get too busy given that the Swedish capital only has about 2.5 million people living in all the metropolitan area. Lidingö is also often referred to as a suburb preferred by richer residents of the Swedish capital, and that became quite evident when I started exploring the hilly streets with rows of houses and villas, all very neatly decorated and taken care of, which apparently it's a Swedish thing to have a gorgeous house, and I applaud you for that. It's gorgeous. Then I do recommend you use the ferry system to commute in Stockholm. As I said, the public transport includes ferries in Stockholm, and Stockholm is famous for being located on an actual archipelago. That means a bunch of islands and a lot of water. In fact, it's one of the top things to do around when you're visiting Stockholm is to visit the islands. I stayed on an island, and the museums are on a different island, and then the center of Stockholm is on a different island. So basically, yeah. That means that if you visit the various islands around, you can do it by boat. If you're not friends with a Swedish boat owner, you can either rent a boat or maybe more affordable, take one of the many ferries which are part of the public transport to enjoy the views. So just get that app and jump on a boat, but the right boat. Some are private, so make sure to ask. For instance, you will find multiple ferries departing from the Nybroviken Central Bay if you want to explore different parts of the Stockholm archipelago, and in the end it depends on your accommodations locations, but for some locals these ferries are indeed the best way to get around the city, as the system is efficient and offers you some of the great views that you see all over the internet. As I mentioned, some ferries are from private companies and you'll need to purchase a different ticket if you want to go with them, depending on the trip. For instance, you can go on a half-day trip to Vakhorn from the center of Stockholm for free with the public transport, or you can book an entire day trip with a guided tour to Birka, Viking Island, which is with a paid ferry. But we'll get to those day trips right now in more detail. There are a bunch of day trips you can do from Stockholm. Personally, I always look for locations and spots that are less crowded and less impacted by mass tourism, even when I'm visiting a major city. I'm still a tourist, but I can choose what I do with my money and time, and I don't want to bother people too much. So if you too like to escape the crowds in Stockholm, then I recommend looking into these day trips options. And these places will most definitely offer you a more authentic and relaxed experience. And the best part is that none of these places are too far. All destinations that I'm going to mention are within a 2-hour drive from Stockholm by train, boat, bus or car. The first one that I recommend is Siktuna, which is Sweden's first town. It was founded in 980 AD, filled with Viking-era ruins, medieval churches, and charming wooden houses. The first stop should be Stora Gatan, the oldest main street in Sweden, lined with cozy cafes and boutique shops, and at the end of the street you will stumble upon the Siktuna Museum. There is a runestone just in front of the museum, one of the many that you'll discover sprinkled in Siktuna. The museum dives into Viking history, and at the end of the visit I recommend you relax by the Lake Mälaren, or at one of the cafes around. Uppsala. I recommend you visit Uppsala as a day trip because it offers a bunch of great stuff. For instance, you should start with the Uppsala Castle, which is located on a small hill, and from here you'll get a great panoramic view over the entire area of the city. Uppsala is known to be the town with the oldest university in Scandinavia. The Uppsala University, which was founded in 1477, has a free-to-visit university library where you will find the Codex Argentus, also known as the Silver Bible. The Silver Bible is a 6th century manuscript, making it one of the oldest surviving texts written in the Gothic language, a now extinct Germanic language. Then you should visit Uppsala Cathedral, the largest church in Sweden, where famous figures like King Gustav Vasa and Carl Linnaeus are buried. The entire town is charming, and there are a bunch of things you should visit, but definitely do not miss the old town and the river, which offers a really laid-back atmosphere, quite different from what you'll see in Stockholm, because in the end Uppsala is famous for its student vibes, so I truly love that. One other day trip that I truly loved, and I mentioned it already, is the Birka day trip. Birka was Sweden's first Viking settlement. It dates back to the 8th century, and today this place is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It's a great option for a day trip if you're into the Viking history, which I guess you are, because otherwise why would you visit Scandinavia? Just kidding. On the island, I also love that they have this museum. Also, they have a few Viking era ruins, the Viking village, which is reconstructed and consists of a bunch of houses and boats. I did a day trip to Birka that included a boat ride from Stockholm and a guided tour of the island. I actually loved the tour because it provided a lot of insights about the Viking trade routes, warriors, the daily life. The tour ends up at Ansgar Cross, which is a great viewpoint on the Birka Island. I do recommend checking my video about Birka if you want to see exactly how all of this day trip looks like. I truly recommend it, loved it. One other recommendation I have is Vakhorn. You can do it even as a day trip. I visited this island by myself. You can easily organize this day trip by yourself, no need for a tour agency. I later found out that Vakhorn is also called the capital of the Stockholm archipelago, but it's easy to understand why they call it that once you're on the trip. The ferry trip it's an attraction in itself, and if you're blessed with a sunny day, then this is the boat trip not to miss in Stockholm. This is a trip you'll need to take if you want to see for yourself all those Swedish landscapes and houses that you see in all pictures on the internet. Once you get to Vakhorn Island, you can visit a fortress, eat at one of the cafes, or walk to a nearby beach and go swimming. The fortress is a 7th century fortress. It's located on a small island of itself, but it's very close to the island on which the ferry drops you. The fort is visited for visitors. You can see this great example of Swedish coastal defense. Overall, Vakhorn is a perfect option for a day trip or even a half-day trip, and you can take the public ferry to get there. Now, to answer a question that a lot of people have, is Stockholm boring? No, it isn't a boring capital. Stockholm is not boring. Stockholm is packed with tourist attractions, museums, palaces, gorgeous architecture. I loved spending my summer in Stockholm and I truly never got bored. I get why some travelers might call it a boring capital, as it seems more stuck up than other capitals in Europe, but that is simply a trademark of the Swedish culture, as some commenters on my last videos said, and I quote, "We just don't see the need to talk." But they're friendly people and I never had an issue with anything. Everything works. Basically, if you're like me and sometimes have difficult days and don't feel the need to talk to people, then Sweden is a place to move, because you can definitely go by, live your life without talking to people. However, that can get boring after a while for some people, but not for me. Once you take the time to look beyond that, you will discover the fascinating history behind the Swedish Empire, the architecture, and loads of interesting quirks of locals. To me, just observing the world around me is an attraction in itself, and I love it. Well, you might call Stockholm a different place. Different in a lot of ways. Definitely a colder place in terms of weather and locals' friendliness, because, well, they want to be friendly, but maybe they're not comfortable talking in English to you or something like that. But I would never call it a boring place, given the many things to do in Stockholm, Sweden. I think if you want to escape mass tourism and actually treat yourself to quality museums and attractions, and you're into the Viking era and history, then yeah, Stockholm is a dream destination. Thank you for watching. If you enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up, leave a comment with other suggestions of things to do in Stockholm. Like, if you're a local, give me your best tip. Probably these are the touristic things, but a lot of people do not know what to visit in Stockholm anyway, so I thought I'll just start with these. The thing is that when I suggest places, you're gonna reach certain parts of the city, and from there you can just go explore on your own, you know, see other things. I think this is merely a suggestion on the top things to see, and from there you can just go on, explore on your own. Oh, and by the way, when you're planning your visit, definitely visit Stockholm in summer. July or August would be ideal. Okay, see you in my next video. Bye-bye.